Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 0, and honestly, I think as a United fan, I am done hate watching Liverpool because it is a pointless endeavour. It is honestly torturous. They are begrudgingly proving me wrong every single weekend. I'm waiting for Liverpool to fall, and they just never do because they've been nothing short of remarkable. Apart from the Nottingham Forest game, and maybe to a certain extent the Ipswich game, which I believe was their opening game of the season, they have been nothing short of remarkable. They completely and utterly demolished my beloved club, Manchester United. They demolished AC Milan away from home, which is not easy to do. And then they demolished Bournemouth today. And I tell you what is the most impressive thing about those three games that I just mentioned. It's not the amount of goals that Liverpool have scored, but it's where the goals have come from. Because my biggest question mark about Liverpool, apart from Klopp leaving and apart from their lackluster performance in the transfer window and lack of reinforcement in that midfield area, the biggest concern for me when it comes to Liverpool, looking from the outside in, has been Mo Salah can't do it alone. And who the hell is going to help him when he's not having a good game, when he's not on it and when he's not feeling like it, because it eventually will happen. Mo Salah is one of the greatest players we've seen in the Premier League, but he's still human. And eventually he's going to have a bad game. Eventually he's going to have a bit of a drought. Who is going to step up? And Liverpool have shown, at least in the last three games, that other players are capable of chipping in when it matters most, whether it be Van Dijk and Konate with their headers against AC Milan and against Manchester United respectively, or whether it be Luis Diaz with his electrifying performance at Old Trafford against my beloved club and today against Bournemouth. He was sensational today. I think it was a very electrifying performance from Luis Diaz. There were so many moments in the game where it felt like he had the crowd on the edge of their seat. And it wasn't just the two goals that he scored, but there was a moment in the game where he dribbled past, I think, 3 or 4 Bournemouth players on the left-hand side. And it looked like he was in trouble, but some magnificent footwork got him out of trouble. And then he used his pace, a good burst of pace, into the box. And in typical Luis Diaz fashion, instead of passing it to someone else in the box or actually hitting the target, he hit it straight at the goalie, which is, typical of Luis Diaz. But beyond that moment, there were so many moments in the game where he was genuinely in the right place at the right time, and it looked like something was about to happen because of him and his brilliance on the ball today. So shout out to Luis Diaz, man. It was a big performance from him. Other notable performances, I think McAllister deserves a shout. He played a delightful ball into Mo Salah, one that definitely deserved the goal. And I think, you know what, I watched that play thinking to myself, if Liverpool were 2-0 down, Mo Salah scores that, right? If he's actually under pressure and Liverpool need a goal, he scores that. But today it just felt like Salah didn't leave the second gear. It felt like Mo Salah wasn't really on it today because he didn't need to be. There were a couple of moments in the game where McAllister and Gravenberch could have had assists, but Salah just wasn't onto it. Speaking of which, Gravenberch was also really good today. I thought he was very good at playing through the Bournemouth press, and there were so many moments where he created an attack for Liverpool out of virtually nothing, by playing through tight space, which is going to go unnoticed and underrated because those opportunities or those passages of play didn't lead to anything tangible for Liverpool. But I think he was a big part of why Liverpool were able to dominate Bournemouth so much. Because apart from that first 3 minutes, Bournemouth didn't really do anything in the game. And I don't think it was any fault of their own. Yes, Kepa made a huge mistake for the first goal, letting Diaz in, and then from there it was just downhill. But if you look at the actual game, Bournemouth were pressing really high. Bournemouth were playing with a real bravado and intensity that is only admirable for a team that obviously doesn't have the same quality as Liverpool. And a big reason why it didn't work is Gravenberch. He was able to play through their press so easily. And it makes you sometimes forget how skint Liverpool are actually in the midfield. It makes you forget the Zubimendi saga and how Liverpool got rejected and how badly they needed a midfielder because he puts in performances like that. And you're like, well, did they really need Zubimendi? Of course they actually did. But you know what I mean, right? Like, it looks like Liverpool are going to be fine if they continue to play the way they did this afternoon against Bournemouth. So shout out to Gravenberch. It was a good performance from him. Other than that, I don't think anybody else in the front six really had a good game. Again, I think Salah was subpar today. And again, I feel like it was mainly a mentality thing. I don't think Mo Salah is washed or anything like that. I think he's one of the greatest players in the Premier League, and I say that begrudgingly as a United fan, and I think he is a player that I rate quite highly. I just think that today he was playing in second gear and he really wasn't under pressure, and I think that's why he had such a bad game. He was just complacent today. Same could be said for Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai was awful today. He was absolutely awful. And you know what? Unlike Mo Salah, he's not a player that I rate very highly anymore, because I made a video about him joining Liverpool and about how good he was at Leipzig and how he had all this potential and what he could bring to Liverpool Football Club, but we really haven't seen it so far. He's been a very underwhelming player so far as I'm concerned. Every time I watch Liverpool, Szoboszlai doesn't really have the best of games. In fact, half the time I don't even notice him, if I'm being completely honest. And after all the hype he was getting the number 8 jersey, being the regen of Gerrard and all this nonsense from certain deluded Liverpool fans, I think it's backfired. And those takes have aged like milk because he's been awful for quite some time now. For quite some time. But again, I don't watch Liverpool every week, so maybe I'm being harsh. But when I do watch Liverpool, Szoboszlai usually does not turn up. And it's something that if I was a Liverpool fan, I would probably be worried about. Because again, Gravenberch is not going to play the way he did every game this season, right? McAllister's not going to have a good game every game this season. Eventually, Szoboszlai is going to need to be the one carrying the midfield. Eventually, he's going to have to make sure that his first touch isn't sloppy, that he's not giving away the ball in precarious areas. There was a few times today where he gave away the ball against Bournemouth, and that could have been deadly. If Liverpool were playing against City or Arsenal or any other potent team in the top half of the table, they would have been in trouble. But if buts and maybes are not fair when a team is 1-3-0, Liverpool look really good. And yeah, man, as a United fan, I've got to put my hands up and say I was wrong. I thought Liverpool would struggle this season for 3 main reasons. First and foremost, the most obvious one is the departure of Jurgen Klopp and the massive gaping hole he was going to leave in the wake of his departure. The second reason is their lack of spending in the transfer window and the lack of ambition from their owners. And the third reason was just I felt like Mo Salah couldn't do it by himself. I felt like Liverpool needed some reinforcements, not just in the midfield, but in their attack as well. Because Jota doesn't really stay fit for Liverpool, and he's the only other player who I think can chip in with the goals in this Liverpool team. But maybe, just maybe, I was wrong, because Diaz is on fire at the moment. And whether or not he'll continue this form, look, only time will tell. Seems like Liverpool fans are split when it comes to Diaz. Some fans rate him quite highly and think there is a player in there who can genuinely be a sensational winger for Liverpool Football Club. And then there's others saying that he's not consistent enough. For all the talent and flair that he has, he just doesn't have that consistent end product, and his decision-making is infuriating. And honestly, I side more with those Liverpool fans who think that Luis Diaz is very inconsistent, but we'll see. We'll see. 4 goals in, 5 games now for Liverpool, as far as all competitions are concerned. He's having a really good start to the season, and we'll just have to wait and see how good he is. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 0. Another massive win for Arne Slot's men. And on to the next one. I'm probably going to go watch the United game now. Hopefully we don't get smoked by Crystal Palace. Otherwise, this is going to be a terrible, terrible weekend. It's been your boy Triple M. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Leave a like on the video if you want to support the channel. Peace!